Okay, we are a little bit behind on this one, as we are with many of our recaps because of holiday festivities, if you haven't seen the others on the channel. But this was a great game Saturday night, one of the more entertaining games we saw this weekend, in my opinion. A loaded weekend of college basketball, a lot of games that maybe were higher profile for some reason. A lot of games that maybe I don't know if they should have been higher profile than this card. This is two top 10 Ken Pom teams. This is Creighton, who we picked as our national champs, getting a win by 3 points at home in a desperate spot against an Alabama team that has looked really, really good. They're ninth in the country on Ken Pom, even though they're 6-4. Is Nate Oates' team kind of crazy? And it came down to the wire. I mean, Mark Sears had the half court shot. There's the screenshot the Field of 68 had. It was halfway down. Ultimately, it rims out and did not send the game to overtime. But I guess what's the takeaway from this game for you? Is Creighton back? Do you trust those guys again or not?
I don't know if I can trust Creighton still, to be honest with you. I don't, because I don't mean to do the box score watching thing with this, but the minute I was watching this Alabama game, like the minute I was watching this game, I was like, damn, if Alabama could hit one or two more threes, they probably win this basketball game. And I don't think you're going to get another basketball game where Alabama's 4 for 22 from three. That they're just not a team that built like that. You get Mark Sears 1 for 5, Grant Nelson 1 for 5, a bunch of guys 0 for. I mean, Aaron Estrada 0 for 3, only 8 points in 36 minutes, 3 for 14 from the field. And to be honest with you, I hate to discredit it, but I don't think it was Creighton's defense. I truly don't. I just thought that Alabama was kind of missing shots, and maybe you feel differently, but I just thought that Bama wasn't hitting shots in this game, and I thought they had the ability to. And in a game where Alabama shoots 4 for 22 from three, I just don't think they're going to have the ability to go on the road and win against a team that is good like Creighton.
I think that's fair. I was infuriated by it as an Alabama money line better. I had them in a variety of ways. I did a big round robin. It had a bunch of life. It hit 3 of the first 4 legs. Alabama money line was the 4th leg, and it would have been a huge payday. Everybody in the Waddell family would have gotten Christmas presents. Now, tough look this week, but they couldn't hit a shot, and it was wild. They're the best offense in the country. They normally hit like 15 threes a game, it feels like. And it felt like they didn't even want to shoot some of the open threes in this game. Now, part of the reason they didn't want to shoot open threes in this game was because Ryan Kalkbrenner got hurt. He missed much of the first half. I think it was around the 16-minute mark that he exited the game. And he didn't return to the bench for much of the first half that I saw in the locker room with an ankle injury. I thought he was not going to return to the game. He comes out, plays the entire second half, and was the best player on the floor for most of the second half. His presence alone is so impactful. When he's not in the game, any team in the country can score at the rim whenever they want against Creighton. When he is in the game, nobody can score at the rim ever against Creighton. I don't know that there's one player in the country that's more important to their team than Ryan Kalkbrenner.
Yeah, and I'm gonna take my little mini victory lap from the preview thing that I did with our good friend Lucas at Heat Check, and I talked about it that there's a lot of people that have a conversation right now about Kalk kind of floating out on the floor, and to me, that's two sided. I think Kalk's floating, but I don't think it's Kalk's fault necessarily. I think because this team is so predicated on shooting threes and getting guys like Shireman and Trey Alexander shots and things like that, that they sometimes forget that they got a 7-footer down low that is good and can score the ball. And in a game with a front court that I don't think is necessarily intimidating, they can get him the ball and establish him. And I think they did a good job of that in this basketball game. And Kalk should not be, just an afterthought. Like him being the third option on this basketball team should not be looked at as a negative towards him. Like I think that Trey Alexander and Baylor Shireman are great, but they can have 3 great pieces, and Kalkbrenner can be that third piece, and he has the ability to be. So this is what he can do. I think he can dominate basketball games on both ends of the floor. And also taking the easy way out here, the one thing we can comment on that makes sense and that we talked about when I did do the preview is you got a good Trey Alexander game. Trey Alexander played good, Creighton win. Simple. 2 + 2 = 4. he didn't have a 1-for-6 game. Like that, it makes a lot of sense why they won.
Yeah, I think the thing is you don't have to be that tough to score on Alabama this year. I know Nate Oates has had some pretty good defenses in the past. This team is outside the top 100 defensively. Mark Sears is too little to defend. Aaron Estrada is built like a strand of floss. Grant Nelson still doesn't know what planet he's on half the time. And the rest of the Alabama bigs literally are the dumbest centers in the country. I'm sorry. I know it sounds harsh to say something like that about college kids, but genuinely, the combination of Alabama's three bigs of Waggy or Wog or however you say it, and then Pringle and then Stevenson when he's in the game. These guys combined for 11 fouls in barely 40 minutes. Like it's horrendous. And you know that Creighton's offense is good. You know they're pump faking. You know they're baiting calls. These guys just can't avoid it. It's impossible, at least in this game. But I came away totally underwhelmed because if they just had any sort of consistent presence inside in this game, I thought Alabama wins the game. But yeah, Calc dominated when he was in the second half. It was really impressive. Their top three, man. Creighton's top three is really, really good, especially when you let him get comfortable. Trey Alexander was comfortable the whole night. Nobody pushed him out of a spot once. He's so good at that mid-range, that little fall away. Like he's just so smooth. The announcer compared him to Rip Hamilton, which I hated that comparison, by the way, but it was really, really smooth. I have this take, even with Calc, who I think is phenomenal, and he's the most important player. I think Shireman's their best player. What Shireman does this season is so far ahead of what he did last season.
Really? Like, you think he's the
Yeah.
best player? Like, if and look at it this way: what player plays their best possible game? You still think like Trey Alexander best
Shireman.
game is not better than Fireman's best
I
game?
think Shireman has both the highest ceiling and the highest floor of those three Creighton players this season. And I look, Calc has a very high floor. He's great. Go look at Shireman's numbers this year, man. It's crazy. Even in the losses, he's been stupid good. His lowest points in a game this season has been 13. He's been in double figures every other game. He has games of 24, 23, 21, 24, 20. Like he's, every single night he steps on the floor, he's going to take 7 to 12 threes, and he's going to hit 2 to 7 of them. Like he's that good. He's an elite free throw shooter. The assist counts are what impresses me, man. He had 9 assists in this game. He had 9 assists 2 games ago against Central Michigan. He had 12 assists against no, I'm sorry, I'm looking at rebounds in that one. 9 assists in the last 2 though. He has 6 multiple times this season. And he doesn't turn the ball over that much. He had 3 this game. That was the second highest total he's had in a game. He's not going to give you anything defensively. We know that. Nobody on Creighton is except for Calc. But I'm wildly impressed with him offensively. I think he's one of the best offensive players in the country. And last year, the ball was always in Ryan Nemhard's hands. This year, the ball's been in Shireman's hands, especially because Ashworth has been so bad. And I'm really excited about what that looks like in Big East play because he is smart. He always generates a good shot. He's one of the most fun players to watch in the country. And I'm kind of buying back into Creighton just because of Shireman. I'm out on everything else, but I'm kind of in on Shireman.
And I just came up with this myself, and I feel like I'm an idiot for doing this and overlooking this. Me and you come on here all the time and talk about guys that transfer up in their second years, and we always kind of do it to point guards. That goes for everybody else. Like we have not brought that up with Baylor Shireman, and Baylor Shireman is an up transfer in his second season. And I thought he was good, but I'm saying like we have not brought that up yet. And like you said, he's been one of the better players. I think he has been the best player for Creighton this season just because of every game he's out there. And with the ups and downs of Trey Alexander, he has been their best player. And I just think that it does bode well for them moving forward. I definitely think it does.
Yeah, I'm in on them. Last thing on this game. I don't know if these guys have another year of eligibility or not. I'm too lazy to look it up right now. But guys that could benefit from a year 2 transfer, maybe 2 guys that are most underwhelming of any player that transferred in the country to me: Aaron Estrada and Stephen Ashworth. Estrada has been good on the season. I know that. His last 2 games have been abysmal, to say the least. He was 3 for 14 in this game. To me, there's no shake there, really. Like the ball should always be in Sears' hands over Estrada's. He's a much better player. He's a much more complete scorer. Estrada did have 4 assists in this game, but I don't like watching him play. I'm sorry, that's harsh. I've been really underwhelmed. He's still like 10 times the player that Steven Ashworth is. Steven Ashworth is horrendous. Like this kid is not what they signed up for. And he had one of his best games of the season in this game. He had 12 points in 26 minutes, but like Creighton is genuinely a better team with Farabello running the show. And that's horrific for Creighton's chances. Ashworth is the worst defensive point guard at the high major level that I have ever seen outside of Foster Loyer.
Oh, I mean, that's crazy. That's
that possession. You remember that possession that got memed where Trey Jones just like bullied again, Trey Jones, who's like what, 5'10", 160
right.
pounds. Trey Jones just bullied Foster and pushed him on his butt. That's every single possession for Steven Ashworth. Like it was layup lines for Mark Sears. He got layup lines against this dude when Kalk was out of the game. It's insane.
Yeah, I was gonna hold it against Creighton for losing them hard, but also beating nepotism is very tough.
I don't know, man. It's crazy. Okay, which team do you trust more in the NCAA tournament, Alabama or Creighton?
Oh, Creighton. I don't trust Alabama to do anything.
I trust Alabama in March more.
You do?
Yeah,
after everything you just said, you come back to trusting them more.
It's because I think Ashworth's a total liability. Like we talk about some teams are playing 4-on-5. I think Creighton's playing 3-on-5 at all times, and they better hope those 3 stay good.
Can't they just shift away from Ashworth completely? Like just go Trey Alexander and then like just throw Mason Miller in.
Mason Miller and Isaac Trout and Farabello are all non-factors. I'm sorry, but none of those guys are as good as we want them to be.
All right,
I'm where I'm at with them. But impressive win. I mean, impressive comeback win that Kalk got them. I'll say that.
It's not that. Yeah, it's also not that impressive.
All right. Let's
it
wrap.
was a must-win game after you had a letdown against UNLV and you played at home against the team you should beat.
And Alabama looked totally disinterested and made 4 threes.
Yeah, so like good work.
Good work. Congrats, Creighton.